Andy Worthington is an investigative journalist, musician, and activist who has been on the front line of Guantanamo for many, many years, unfortunately. I only say that because it shouldn't even be open. So it sucks that he's had to do this for so long. Every time I have him on, I always say he is the guy. He's the guy for all things Guantanamo. So I wanted to have him on to get an update on the situation in Guantanamo, the Trump, all of that stuff. It's now back in the news. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about El Salvador and how that's really just a GITMO 2.0, and also his recent work reporting on Palestine. So Andy, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming on. Let me get you in here. I appreciate you staying up late to join us.
Thanks. Hey, Misty. Yeah, it's just after midnight here, but I'm a night owl, so it's okay.
I am too. I like by nature. Unfortunately, I have children who do not allow me to be a night owl anymore. So
yeah, okay.
I have to get up. Yeah. I object to that very much so by nature, but that's just the way that it is, right? So, okay, yeah. I wanted to start with a Guantanamo update. Obviously, as I mentioned, you've been on the front line of this for a very long time. We had gotten some good news. There had been a lot of people released. A lot of people had been approved for release. What's going on right now? What's the status update on what's happening in Guantanamo currently?
Sure, Misty. Well, yeah, I mean, it's ancient history now, isn't it? Because Trump has erased everything that came before him. But yeah, in the dying days of the Biden administration, they did actually manage to release half the men they were holding, which was 15 out of 30 men, leaving 15 for Donald Trump. And clearly, as we saw in his first term in office, he has no interest in freeing any of them. He also doesn't seem to have much interest in them at all, which is perhaps slightly better for them than if he took some kind of malevolent interest in them. But yeah, they're stuck there. I mean, of course, what's happened is that their very existence has been overwhelmed by the performative cruelty of Trump deciding that he was going to use Guantanamo for migrants that he wanted to deport from the United States. And he actually cleared out 3 of the remaining prisoners who were held in one of the cell blocks in the War on Terror prison so that he could move Venezuelan migrants there. And what I really didn't hear anything about at all, although I wrote about it many times myself, was that it was fundamentally illegal to move anyone into the prison at Guantanamo Bay who isn't connected with the 9/11 attacks, allegedly, the 9/11 attacks, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, acts of terrorism that took place at that time, 23 years ago. But he somehow got away with that, moved all these Venezuelans in and then moved them all out again. There are still people at Guantanamo that he's sent there in the last few weeks. Who knows what's going to happen to them in the end. But yeah, the 15 men who are still held, like I say, 3 of them were low-value detainees, and they were held in Camp 6. They were moved so that Trump could put migrants there. They were moved into Camp 5, which is where the 12 other prisoners are held. Now, these are all alleged high-value detainees. And the kind of absurd thing about this is that since they arrived at Guantanamo, mostly in September 2006, from CIA black sites, successive administrations have said that it is absolutely crucial for US national security that these men, the high-value detainees, the ones tortured in CIA torture prisons for years, are kept strictly isolated from any other prisoners. Because, national security reasons. What it really means is that they didn't want there to be any possibility of prisoners held in neighboring cells possibly being able to communicate with these people about the torture to which they were subjected in CIA black sites. And yet again, Donald Trump doesn't care. He moved these 3 guys in with the high-value detainees, as far as we know. They're all in a cell block together. And I think what I find most horrible and interesting all at the same time about what he did was that he completely disregarded the men still held in the War on Terror prison at Guantanamo. It was as if they didn't exist. And, some of the men held there are supposedly, as we've been told for more than 2 decades, the most dangerous terrorists who have ever taken part in an attack on the United States, the most dangerous men who the United States has ever captured and ever held, even though they can't manage to put them on trial because they tortured them. But he just swept it all aside. And, you know, if we're going to take anything positive from that, what it actually confirms is how Guantanamo is now a pointless relic of the past, and any excuse for Republicans like Tom Cotton, who used to go on about them all the time, to insist that these are still the most dangerous people ever, have really been kind of swept away by Donald Trump's complete indifference.
Yeah. And this whole thing about we can't even put them on trial because they've been tortured and that they've been held for this long with really no due process. It is, again, and you and I have talked about this before on various shows that I've done, but just the heinous, what's the word, the indifference of the American public about this. And I realize it's not a hot button issue. It's not, and especially right now, I think a lot of people in this country, and probably where you are as well, are like, hey, I can't feed my family. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have enough money to pay for my kid to go to the doctor. And I understand that those are the issues that are really pummeling people in the face right now. But I think that Guantanamo, I think a lot of people, and I believe you and I have spoken about this, I think a lot of people still think that it was closed under Obama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people really think that it was closed. And here we still have these 15 men. And the reason why I really wanted to talk to you is because we now have Trump, as you mentioned, sending migrants there as if this is an okay thing. No, it needs to be closed. It should have been closed ages ago. It really should have never been open, but certainly it shouldn't be continue to be open now. So where do you see it under Trump? I mean, we now have him bringing new people there. As you mentioned, he seems completely indifferent, doesn't really care about the men who are currently being held there. I mean, we're not going to see it closed anytime soon, right?
No, we're absolutely not, unfortunately. I mean, so the three guys who were moved from Camp 6 to Camp 5, the low-value detainees, nobodies, they've all been cleared for release for many, many years. In fact, one of them, I mean, this is just such a sad story. He's never had any legal representation. He refused any of the lawyers who wanted to represent men in their habeas corpus cases. He's refused to engage with the US authorities at all. He was approved for release in 2010, and he's just sitting there in Guantanamo, refusing to engage with anybody. So, I mean, you know, isn't that a horrible story?
Yeah, that's horrendous. The whole situation is very frustrating to me, given that it seems as if each subsequent administration just keeps kicking the can down the road. There's really no urgency. They really don't care. And I think because these are the way that they've kind of put this story in front of people, I think people just don't care about the humanity of these men, regardless of the fact that they've never seen trial. They've never, there's never really been any evidence presented against them. And especially so many who have already been released that took forever to get out. I mean, it astonishes me the level of disconnect that people have with this story and with why this is. And again, the tie-in now with the El Salvador situation, which we're going to get into later, it's happening again. Like, we're doing the same thing again. So that's very frustrating. And Andy also has been doing regular vigils outside of various different places around the world. I know there's one in Mexico, there's one in Washington, D.C., there's one in the UK. And you yourself can also just do one yourself. I've been in contact with my friend Andrew, who, as you guys know, is dealing with his kids' health issues, but we would like to do one in Columbus. If there's anybody in Ohio,
that would be great.
Yeah, we took a long, or at least I did. And Andrew has a very good reason. He's dealing with his kids' health issues. I just was burnt out after the Assange stuff. And once he was free, I was like, okay, I'm taking a rest. Yeah. So I guess that's kind of selfish of me. There's things I should be out there fighting for, but I was just burnt out.
No, you deserve to rest, Misty.
I mean, everybody does. And I'm sure you do too. You feel guilty when you're not doing something. So, but I would love to get back into stuff, and starting with closing Guantanamo, I think would be a good place. And obviously doing some stuff for Gaza as well. But if anybody wants to start one of these things, it's not hard, y'all. All you need, and I used to say this about Assange stuff too, a poster board, a Sharpie, and a sidewalk. That's all you need.
That's it.
That's all you need.
And the friends in America who are part of it call them the first Wednesday vigils that take place on the first Wednesday of every month. And I'm so, we're a little family of a little global family of the best people that you could wish for.
Yeah.
Because we are bothered, you know. I mean, I started this a couple of years ago. I asked people that I knew if they wanted to do it, and they come out every month. And it's just to make a stand, just to show that some of us still care, because this isn't just human beings who are held at Guantanamo who've been treated so abominably, but it's also so central to our notion of what we understand of our personal liberty and the rule of law. And, you know, we're going to get onto that more with the Seco prison story, because the relevance of that is startlingly present now, in a way that, you know, throughout Guantanamo's history, people, you know, as you were saying, Misty, have just forgotten. You know, people thought the prison was closed. People haven't been paying attention. And yet, at some very fundamental level, the right not to be held without charge or trial, not to be treated abusively by the executive branch of the government, is a story that is central to Guantanamo, and that we're seeing come back to life really horribly right now.
Please clap.